Hello, and welcome to the 31 Days of Halloween. I'm Exolite, and this is my channel. Hello, Rob.
Hello, Tracy.
How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, actually. Well, I'm fine.
Me and my daughter watched The Return of Mary Poppins the other day,
Did you?
and I understand how and why you get this accent, this British accent, where you get it from the way they talk in Mary Poppins.
Yes.
But Mary Poppins isn't real. It's not a documentary.
Goodbye, Rob. We're no longer friends. Yes, but see, they talk like, hello, right? It's like an exaggerated British accent or something. I don't know.
It's a very posh British accent.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, well. Oh, I'm sorry. But that's how I've learned to do my accent. Is embarrassingly enough from Mary Poppins.
Who killed Daddy in the library?
Who killed Daddy in the library?
That's the one. See?
So, what did your kids think of it?
Well, the only kid who would watch it. Yeah, she really, really liked it. She really, really liked it. I thought there was too many songs, but
Oh, you did?
um,
Well, it's a musical.
yeah, I know it's a musical, but and I thought that the girl who I can't remember her name, Emily
Emily
Blunt,
Blunt.
who played, I could not picture Emily Blunt as playing Mary Poppins, but I think she did a really good part. Played a really good part.
It's very
So,
odd that we are talking about Mary Poppins in the 31 Days of Halloween.
yeah, sorry about that.
That was a very strange beginning. As a side note, I recommended that to him, so there you go. I have eclectic taste. Okay, it's one of those movies that to me you turn it on and it's it's just like everything that sucks feels a little bit better.
It
You
wasn't as
know,
good. It wasn't as good as Frozen 2.
I've never seen Frozen 2. Are we going to review children's movies? Just so I know if I should change the headline of this. But what about Alice in Wonderland, though?
No, I still not watched it.
I've never seen it. Okay. Um, Before we get started, as I said, this is the 31 Days of Halloween, not Disney. But if you have come here and found us in the middle of the 31 Days of Halloween, which you will have, please go back and look at my other content and keep coming back for the rest. There is content every single day during Halloween, and it's all kinds of different topics. And I have to tell you something, Rob.
Go on.
Sometimes I'm not perfect.
Really?
Really, let that sink in. And I said there was something in common with every single video in the 31 Days of Halloween, did I not?
You did.
And I said that there would be a contest for whoever could figure out what that thing was that was in common with every single video during the 31 Days of Halloween, did I not?
Yes, you did.
Did I F that up? Yes, I did.
Okay.
I F'd it up. And I'm not going to tell you how, But some sneaky little demon effed something up. And so that might give you a clue as to what the other 30 videos have in common. One of those days took a break and said, not today. So that might help you figure out, if you're paying very close attention, to what went wrong with that plan. I don't know what happened. I can't detail it for you. Just use that as a hint that you might be able to figure it out easier now. And I'm going to give away a free Amazon gift card to the first person who figures it out and leaves a comment below and tells me, or B, somebody who leaves comments. And I don't mean the kind of comments where you say, take those marbles out of your beautiful mouth. Those comments are automatically thrown into the fires of hell. Am I right, Rob?
Yes, you're right.
Yes. So, if you leave a comment or you figure out what 30 of the 31 videos have in common, you can win an Amazon gift card, free money. Please give these videos thumbs up. That really, really, really helps me. If you'd like to share these videos, that would be great. And if you'd like to be subscribed, well, now's the perfect time to do it. Or back when we were talking about Mary Poppins. What are we doing today, Rob?
Haunted graveyards.
Haunted graveyards. Here's something that is interesting that you pointed out to me, Rob. You said to me, why would graveyards be haunted? Nobody dies there.
Well, yeah, because they don't.
Yeah. Yes. That kind of popped a bubble for me.
It's like morgues in hospitals. Why would they be haunted? No one dies in a morgue.
No, but some religions and some belief systems believe that the spirit does stay for up to a month to help the loved ones deal with the passing. So
yeah,
maybe that's how it goes. Stayed past my time or something. I don't know, but it was funny because I hadn't thought of it that way. However, if there's a very active spirit in a graveyard, maybe they just decided to hang out. And we're going to talk about those. Have you ever been to a graveyard at night?
Yes, I have.
Did you ever see anything spooky?
Yeah, I have seen spooky things in the graveyard at night. But what you just said about people don't die in a graveyard isn't necessarily true, because years ago, especially during the plague times in the UK, excuse me, you used to bury people with a little bell?
Yes, I
Have
did.
you heard? Because
that rings a bell.
That rings a bell.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's where the phrase comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so people could have been buried alive. So then that opens up a whole different.
That's true. And that's where the term working the graveyard shift comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people used to stay there at night just to listen out for the bells. The bells. The bells.
There's that man who was buried with glass so you could see his face, so that you could see if he was alive. And but back then, if you had the plague and whatnot, apparently it was harder to tell if they were died. they were dead, because they would like lump everybody into piles and just take the pile and bury them. And some of
Yeah.
those people hadn't passed yet.
Plague pits, yeah.
I don't. I just read like last week or a week ago, somebody sat up in a morgue and said, "I'm not dead." So.
Mm. And also, this sort of brings us on to my first one, if you don't mind me going first.
Are you going to ask me if I've ever been in a graveyard at night?
Have you? Yeah, was that? You must be able to read my mind, Tracy. That was the next thing I was going to ask. Have you ever been in a graveyard at night?
Yes,
Tracy?
I have. Yes, I have. I
And what
have been
happened?
in a graveyard. Well, it's a little above rated PG. So
Okay. Okay. What were you doing in the graveyard at night?
you know, I just with a friend.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say.
You have to drag it to the gutter, don't you, every time?
I can't help it. I really can't help it.
I'm sorry, everyone.
What is this? What is this? This has gone way far away from Mary Poppins. Anyway.
I watched a documentary last week or week before. Me and Tracy was talking about vampire skeletons that were dug up.
Yeah.
With their basically they taken the bodies and made it so if they were undead, they weren't getting up.
Well, tell him, because I had not seen the documentary and I had not heard about it till you described it to me. So tell them how this worked.
Well, basically, what they would do is get a huge boulder, wrap the body up. You've got to bear in mind that this is the body just dead, so it's not a skeleton. Wrap the body around this big, huge boulder, open the mouth, put a huge stone into the mouth, and jam it in there, and then bind them. Basically break the body, break the bones of the body, so it was wrapped round this stone, and then basically bury them or take the head off, put it upside down, or between the legs.
Yes.
And then obviously these, but what they were finding is these weren't single graves. These were graves that contained up to say 200.
Wow.
200 bodies with there's no sign of any headstone, and they were buried just at the side of the cemetery. And what all the different experts from around the world looking at stuff that's been found and things that are still done in Eastern Europe now, because believe it or not, in Eastern Europe people still believe that there are vampires, and they still have the rituals of taking off the head and all the other stuff that we just talked about. And they believe that all these bodies were believed to be vampires. So me and Tracy was talking about this, and I said to Tracy, could, we all look at the way the vampires are perceived now in Hollywood and on the TV and everything like that, but could vampires be real? All legend is based on facts. Do these people know something we don't know?
And because throughout time and history and different cultures,
Yep, they've always been vampires.
there's always always been vampires.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh.
Scary stuff. That's real scary stuff.
Yeah, it is. Anyway, yeah, that was very interesting. And to have that many of them, I wonder what spurred that. It seems like it must have been something that I wonder if it had something like resembled about the Salem witch trials. That it was a panic thing.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I was always, I've always believed, and I've read and watched a lot about the sort of vampire ghost thing. And when they used to dig up bodies that had been dead for a while, they used to believe that they were vampires because the you you lose all your water and all the fluid out of your body, and you sort
Mm-hmm.
of your gums recede, so it makes your teeth
Mm-hmm.
look bigger. And they believed that because of this, they were getting fangs and
Yeah, they thought their like, nails were longer.
yeah, nails were longer, yeah. And it takes the body quite a long time under the ground in a coffin to break down.
Mm-hmm.
We well, I didn't realize this. That I just thought, well, it'd be like when the body's found on the earth
Mm-hmm.
with all the elements, the sun and the wind and the rain and the snow
Mm-hmm.
and obviously all the other stuff, that the flies and the maggots and everything. That breaks the body down quite quickly. But when it's
Mm-hmm.
under the ground in a coffin, it does take quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they were digging these bodies up and expecting them to be, skeletons, and they weren't. They were still.
Mm-hmm.
We still have mummies now, don't we? From that have
Mm-hmm.
been found in peat bogs and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
that are thousands and thousands of years old, that are
Mm-hmm.
still really, really well preserved.
I wonder if that's more prevalent now that we use like formaldehyde and stuff to
Yeah.
preserve bodies. If the process is even slower.
Mm, yeah.
My family, when my mother passed away, I don't know if I've told the story on here before. I think so. But my grandmother and my aunt went to the cemetery to purchase her plot, and they ended up buying a plot for each grandchild and their spouse. So they ended up buying like 10 or more, 15 plots at the same time, which I always, e- even at the time, it struck me as funny that the guy probably was like, I wouldn't want to be going to your next family reunion. Um,
Mhm.
I'd like to buy 15 plots, please. Mm. But she bought them all to be concrete lined as well. So, which, I want to be cremated and made into a tree. Not made into a tree, but they can do the cremation and put you into this pot and grow a tree from you, and then they plant the tree. I just want to do that. I don't want to be in a casket in a concrete lined hole.
Is that what it is? I've never. You told me about the buying all the plots. We never. I've never heard that for concrete line. I've never heard that.
Yeah, they're all well, they're not, they haven't been dug up yet, but when the time comes, they will be concrete lined.
Wow.
Yeah, so like a tomb.
I didn't even know they did that.
That doesn't. I don't know. I get it when at the time because I was going through, like the laws. I thought, because you don't want to picture, things
Yeah.
what they do to, you know, just animals and bugs and whatnot. But in reality, I would rather be a tree. But everybody always tells me that I'll probably be a tree and they'll knock it down and put a Walmart parking space there. So that's probably true. I have a bunch of my dad's ashes, and what we're gonna do is, why are we going off on this? What we're gonna do is, when we travel, wherever we travel, we're gonna take a little, and my kids travel. we're going to take a little bit of ashes and leave them there so that no matter where we go ever or where they end up living ever, that there'll be a little piece of my dad there.
Well, my friend, I've told you about this, Nigel. He lost his dad, and he's kept the ashes, and he's having it made into a tattoo.
Yes, I've heard you can do that too.
Yeah, he's going to have the ashes made into, not made into ink, but added to the ink. So I don't know how they do it. The process of doing
they
it.
just add it to the ink a little bit. Right. It's a tiny, tiny bit.
And then have a tattoo done.
I've heard of people who've lost children who've done that.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I don't think that's for me.
I think I would do that. I think it's really good. I'd never heard of it until Nigel told me, and I think it's a brilliant idea. I would have done it with Annette, with Suzanne. I would have done it with, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I don't think I could.
Because people people take hair cuttings, don't they, and have it made into jewelry.
Well, you can take your ashes and have them pressed into diamonds
diamonds, yeah.
My husband, my father's wife, bought a lovely piece of jewelry for me to put a little bit of ashes in so I could wear it around my neck. Which I haven't been able to do yet. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I keep telling my kids that when I die, they should turn my ashes into diamonds, and then they could wear me as jewelry because I'm so fancy. But then it gets creepy, so whatever. I don't think they'll be making tattoos out of me. Yes. Selfish. They're just so selfish. Ungrateful, I swear. Anyway, okay. Sorry about that detour right off the bat. People come here to listen to our detours, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. I put a title on it, but I don't know if we ever get around to the topic.
Oh.
Okay, Rob, what's your first...
Well, since we were talking about vampires, I thought I'd start at St. Mary's in Whitby in England. Now, Whitby Bay is in the north east of the United Kingdom, really far up, going towards Scotland, towards the border. And it was the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ooh.
Because the ship was supposed to have sailed, and
what?
When he sailed off, Jonathan Harker.
Oh yeah.
He sailed from Whitby, and then Dracula came back to Whitby. That's where they were supposed to be. So it was the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and with wild seaside settings, right next to Whitby Abbey. There are plenty of interesting graves. And don't miss the weird nursery rhyme graves, including an egg-shaped tomb for Humpty Dumpty and a grave of a young child marked as Tom Thumb.
Oh, what?
That is. Where my sister's buried, there is a part of the graveyard, the cemetery, that is just for children's graves. And it's horrendous. People, not horrendous, that is the wrong word, and I apologise. Not horrendous. It is heartbreaking. to see all these little teddy bears that the mums and
Yeah.
family bring and all stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it was a part of the cemetery that I didn't go past if I could help it. But yeah, St. Mary's in Whitby was the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Interesting.
Mm.
Well, my first one is going to be St. Louis Cemetery #1 in New Orleans, because you can't pass that one up. There's 3, actually.
I was just
St.
going to
Louis
ask you that.
cemeteries.
Is there more than one?
Yes, there's 3. But #1 is supposed to be the most haunted. It's the oldest. It opened in 1789. And it replaced St. Peter Cemetery, which burned in 1788. New Orleans burnt to the ground, I want to say twice, but at least once. But I don't know how the cemetery burned, because I don't know if you know this, but in New Orleans you can't have a grave under the ground because New Orleans is below sea level. So, which is one of the things that makes it extra special, because it shouldn't be able to exist. So if you're trying to dig a grave, you hit water. The sea, to be exact. So all graves are in tombs. So I'm kind of confused about the burning down thing, but anyway.
Where is New Orleans? Is it in Louisiana or Mississippi?
It's Louisiana.
Because I'm looking at the map.
It's right down at the bottom. Look at the bottom of Louisiana, close to the Texas border. Yeah, it's below sea level.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's one of the magical things about it. So it's no wonder that the cemetery holds some haunts, because picture this. You remember when I told you with how big a block is? You know, if I have to walk a block, like 1/10 of a mile. 10 blocks would be a mile.
Right.
There are more than 100,000 people buried in a section of land about the size of a block.
It's crazy.
You would expect that a few of them might have a little unfinished business. The tomb that tends to attract the most attention, oh God, I love this one, is Marie Laveau. You know, the witch. Remember, think back to
American Horror Story?
American Horror Story, the one with the witches.
Yeah.
And and you remember Marie Laveau? Hello? Marie Laveau was a character in there. She was a very, very famous witch. Now they have a voodoo store where she was said to have practiced, and she's not a witch, excuse me. She's a voodoo priestess.
Didn't Angela Bassett play her?
Yes, she did. Yes. People go there and they mark 3 X's on her tomb. And they believe that if you do that, she will grant you a wish. Now, I have one daughter who's down for that stuff, and one daughter who will never forgive me because I bought. Okay, so Madison is not down for any voodoo, hoodoo, no. And I bought Maya. Maya wanted to have a doll, a voodoo doll, and Maya wanted one. And you can get ones that are like, for wealth, for health, for love. whatever. You don't have to, they sell them right in the gift shops. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we bought this one at a gas station. The weird thing was, I put it on the counter, and the guy would not take it to see how much money it was. I had to hold the doll up so he could scan it. He wouldn't hold it. Well, we didn't tell Madison that we bought it. We hid it, and the girls shared a closet. And one day, Madison came out bawling because she had been sleeping in her room with a voodoo doll, and boy, was she not happy about that. It was not my best parenting moment. Not gonna lie. But when we went, Madison wanted nothing to do with going to go put 3 X's on a tomb. And I don't. As I've told you before, I don't make wishes. It's a superstition of mine. So that was fine with me. So if you ever go there, also if you go to Lafayette Cemetery 1, you will see where they filmed the Interview with the Vampire. So many movies have been filmed in Lafayette Cemetery 1. And it's over by the Garden District. There's an adorable little cookie and coffee shop across the street. Go there. It's amazing to see the history there. Of course, there's people from every war, and they still bury people in there because you can have a family crypt, and you can be added to the family crypt. And these family crypts are 200-300 years old. So it's me and Jory went, and his wife, and it was pouring down rain, and we were walking, and it was muddy. I'll never forget it because Jory had just bought brand new shoes, and we were walking through, and he said, "I'm so excited I paid $100 to take dead people home." So take a pair of shoes you don't mind ruining. It rains there a lot. Anyway, all right. There's my New Orleans graveyard stories.
Very interesting. I don't like all the voodoo stuff. It scares me.
Well, voodoo doesn't scare me. I think if you believe in it, it gives it power. Uh-oh, something happened to my... Are you there, Rob?
Yeah, can hear you fine.
Something happened with my sound. But for the record, I just bought a new iPad, so that kind of thing won't be happening again. It sounds like an electrical jolt. I think if you give voodoo power, it has power. Because if somebody puts a curse on you and you walk out and get hit by a bus, you're gonna think it was the curse. If you were on that same path, you would have got hit. You wouldn't. If you hadn't been told there was a curse, you wouldn't say so.
If I walk out and get hit by a bus, I'm going to be convinced it's the bleeding bus.
That's right. It's a bus. All right. What's your next one, my friend?
Right. Highgate Cemetery in London, England. In London, in big London. Sorry. You'll only get that joke if you're a northerner. We're going to big London. Anyway, sorry. If you want a moment's respite from living London's rattling home, that's an album that by U2. What?
That's weird.
Why?
It's just weird coincidence.
Okay. What a weird coincidence for you, or just a weird coincidence?
No, I'm just saying that's a weird coincidence. Whatever.
Okay. Anyway.
What a random, 3 words to put together.
London's rattling home is a perfect place to come, sprawling wild, gorgeous, gothic. Some of its famous guests include Karl Marx, Malcolm McLaren, Douglas Adams, whoever he was. Don't miss the splendid funerale architecture of the West Cemetery, where the highlights include an Egyptian avenue and a lifelike lion crowning the tomb of Victorian owner George Wombwell. Highgate is also home of the Highgate vampire, who reportedly haunted the cemetery in the early 1970s. The Highgate vampire.
I have something to tell you about that. By the way, Douglas Adams wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. I have a story to tell you about the Highgate vampire, if you'd like.
Tracy, I'm all ears.
Well, surgery could help that. But the Highgate vampire was a media sensation surrounding reports of supposed supernatural activity at the Highgate Cemetery in London in the 1970s. I was kind of surprised to read the 1970s. The most thorough account of this story is given by folklorist Bill Ellis in his journal, Folklore. Wow, that was... I wonder how he came up with that name. A group of young people interested in the occult, this is how it goes, is said to been in the cemetery in the 1960s, a time when it was being vandalized by intruders. According to a report in the London Evening News of November 1968, here we go. On the night of Halloween 1968, a graveyard desecration by persons unknown occurred at Tottenham Park Cemetery in London. Did I say that right, Rob?
Tottenham.
That was pretty close. These persons arranged flowers taken from graves in circular patterns with arrows of blooms pointing to a new grave which was uncovered. A coffin was opened and the body inside disturbed. But their most macabre act was driving an iron stake in form of a cross through the lid and into the breast of the corpse. Though the identities and motivations of these responsible were never ascertained, general consensus at the time linked the desecration to events surrounding the Highgate vampire case. Then, in a letter to the Hampstead Highgate Express on the 6th of February 1970, David Farrant wrote that when passing the cemetery on Christmas Eve 1969, he had a glimpse of a gray figure, which he considered to be supernatural, and asked if others had seen anything similar. On the 13th, several people replied, describing a variety of ghosts said to haunt the cemetery or the adjoining Swains Lane. These ghosts were described as a tall man in a hat, a spectral cyclist, a woman in white, of course, a face glaring through the bars of the gates, a figure wading into a pond, and a pale gliding form, bells ringing, and voices calling. Sean Manchester claimed that the figure was a vampire, and the media quickly latched on, embellishing the tale with stories of the vampire being a king of vampires or of practicing black magic. Let's see, there's, in the aftermath, this is seen in popular culture in a film from 1972 called Dracula AD, which starred Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing's. It is the Highgate vampire appears as a villain in the series. You're gonna love this. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, season 9.
Oh,
The
right.
the Highgate vampire is revealed to be not a vampire, but an insectoid demon that feeds off its victims' emotional trauma. Uh-oh. Better lock my doors. Rupert Giles had nearly been killed by the creature in 1972. The Highgate vampire became a minion of Drusilla when it returned in the 2010s. The Highgate vampire was covered on an episode number 388 of my daughter's favorite podcast in the world, The Last Podcast on the Left. And it was published in a Doctor Who magazine issue, number 492/493, on October 15th through November 12th, 2015.
Wow.
So there you go.
You are the font of all knowledge.
I appreciate that, Rob. Thank you. Did I sound like I had marbles in my mouth?
No, you didn't.
Thank you. All right. Let me take you to the next one, shall I? Or is it your turn? No, it's my turn.
It's your turn, yeah.
The Stoll Cemetery in Kansas. The gates to hell. Okay, probably not, but you have to admit that the church that belonged there was reduced to rubble. And that does spark the imagination. And the fact that the crumbling church finally fell down on Good Friday is also quite interesting. Rumor has it that if you go up and knock on the rock in the rubble pile, as if you were knocking on a door, the devil himself will rise up and answer. No, thank you. I have to take a pass on that one.
Yeah. I've got a nice one. Well, as nice as it can be, I suppose.
Yeah.
Heading up to Edinburgh, which Edinburgh itself has got to be one of the most haunted places in the United Kingdom, if not the world. It's very, very old. Lots of old catacombs and tunnels, and just even Ghost Adventures did a episode from Edinburgh. Pardon?
Ghost Adventures. Ghost Adventures. Zach Bagans. Zach. I bet when you're sleeping you do this. Zach Bagans.
I haven't mentioned Ghost Adventures for ages now. But anyway,
it was hard, wasn't it? That was difficult, wasn't it?
Not really, no. I don't watch it anymore. To be honest, I've watched them all. So
they still have new ones.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to the dog cemetery.
What?
A dog cemetery in Edinburgh.
Okay.
Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. Only one of the only 2 dog cemeteries in Scotland. This small patch with views of the castle over the city is a burial place to army officers' dogs and regimental mascots. The pampered pets have been resting in peace here since 1746. You can go in, but you can't get a view from the parapet. above. It doesn't mention anything about any ghosts, but I suppose. How do you feel about a pet cemetery? Do you think?
I think that's sweet.
Yeah, I never. I don't know what it is about me, and don't know.
I think that's sweet. When we had a dog pass away a few years ago, she was family, and I was just dumbfounded about what we were going to do with her because I didn't. I was like, we can't leave her. We have to do something kind. So we buried her in a lovely little spot. I know you don't get attached to animals.
No, no, no. I think it's just a way that to protect myself, really, because um, I think it's just I've had animals when I was young, which were really like important to me.
Mm-hmm.
But now, no.
Well, I never, the dog that passed away 3 years ago was the only dog or pet I had ever really become attached to. I did have a cat for 21 years. I was very attached to her, but I lived in the country growing up, as we all know. And it was not uncommon to have your cats decide to go live with coyotes, which is what my parents told me happened. The coyotes came and they talked her into moving with them. And so when I was very young, I just thought, these goddamn coyotes. Coyotes taking on my freaking cats. What's so good about living with a coyote? Yeah, well,
So
nothing turns out. No,
that's that can't be true.
it's true.
A cat would go and live with coyote. Would they not just eat the cat?
Yes, but my parents didn't want to tell me that,
Oh
Rob.
right, I'm sorry.
I
I
was a
don't know.
child. They were like, and the cat decided to go live with the coyote family, so
Right.
that's why I'm saying. I was like,
Okay. I'll
that's
let you
freaking
off.
rude. Can't we build a fence or something so the coyotes can't come over?
Okay, I'll let you off.
Well, thank you. Just like when people say, like, oh, the dog went to go live in the pasture and run with other dogs. They're not in the pasture, Rob.
In the big pasture in the sky.
Well, yeah, that's where they are. Whatever. Let's talk about Mary Poppins. Anyway, go ahead. Are you done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, so it just so happens that I have one. Western Burial Ground, Westminster Presbyterian Church, Baltimore, Maryland. It's fitting that the cemetery Edgar Allan Poe now calls home is considered one of the scariest in America. By the way, I'm going to be doing a video about Edgar Allan Poe's death. Anyway, Poe's ghost has been spotted, of course. But another freaky story is that the Cambridge skull is there. A minister was murdered once, you see, but his head never stopped screaming, even after he died. The murderers finally gagged the skull and buried it in a block of cement to attempt to muffle it. But, Rob, if you listen closely, it can still be heard screaming. If you're one of the lucky ones to hear it, the story goes that you'll never get the sound out of your head and will likely be driven insane. That doesn't
Just a,
sound lucky.
It sounds like something you find on an episode of Scooby-Doo.
It doesn't feel lucky. Like lucky is finding $1 in the jeans you washed. My bar is low. Lucky is not hearing a scream in your head until you go insane. On my house. Do you have any more?
There's one I want to talk about.
Okay.
It's in Paris.
Oh, Paris.
In France.
France.
And it's one we've talked about before, but I thought I'd give it a mention. Honourable mention. The Catacombs underneath France. Now, for people that don't know, a long time ago, and I don't know what year, they had a problem, didn't they, with basically flooding and all the bodies coming up out of the ground, the coffins and the bodies and everything like that. So they had to think of a way to solve the problem. And they basically took all the dead bodies into the catacombs underneath Paris and stacked up the skeletons. And now there are hundreds of thousands of basically that make up the walls of the catacombs of just all skulls, all of it. And the catacombs go on for a long way. And
what's their purpose?
I'm not sure.
I mean, do they support?
I think it was the original city. It's like in Manchester, there is another Manchester underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You can go around it, and if you come down the Manchester Ship Canal, you can actually see the old footings and everything like that for the old city.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've told you the story, haven't I? That I used to drive a lorry or a wagon or whatever.
Truck.
Truck. Just for any English people out there, if you plan on going to America, don't say the word lorry to anyone.
Lorry.
That's why.
Yes. I can't say it to save my life. Lorry. Whatever.
Anyway, so I had to go to what we call what was it? I think it's a corn exchange. I'm not sure anyway. And I was in a 7.5 ton truck, and it was my first delivery there, and I didn't know what was going on. So I got told to go and reverse down this alleyway, and there's a big shutter door. So they opened the shutter up, and I was told to drive in. And basically, it was a lift, and it took me down underneath the city, and the roads were wide enough to drive a 7.5 ton truck around, and it was the most weirdest, surreal thing I'd ever seen. It was just crazy. It was just absolutely crazy.
Seattle has a whole city underneath it too.
I think there's a lot that do, actually.
I watched a documentary just yesterday, and there's a Middle Eastern country, and I can't think of it for the life of me. And this largest city underneath it is an entire city. Like, you can see where they had a bakery and where they had stables and homes. It's just crazy, and it's thousands of years old. It's just the strangest thing. It's just it's so weird.
I've just found something here. The history of the Paris Catacombs starts in the late 18th century, where a major public health problem tied to the city cemeteries led to the decision to transfer their contents to an underground site. Wow.
So there's no identification.
No, I'm just looking at a picture now. Basically, it's like a support, and it's made up of leg bones and skulls, leg bones and skulls, leg bones and skulls, leg bones, and it's literally wow, that is crazy.
That's creepy. People get lost in there.
Yeah. Starting in 1809, the catacombs were open to the public by appointment. A register was placed at the end of the circuit where visitors could write their impressions. It was filled very rapidly because these visitors quickly became to success of both. Visitors from French and foreigners. As the years passed, the resting place of many illustrious individuals. In 1787, the court of Artois, the future Charles X, visited the site in the company of a group of court ladies. Why would you say ladies down there? In 1860, Napoleon III descended into the catacombs with his son. During the 19th century, visiting arrangements constantly changed from total closing of monthly or quarterly openings. The Paris catacombs are now open to everyone without requiring your authorization, and welcome listen to this, Chase, and welcome nearly 550,000 visitors a year.
Oh no. How disrespectful. I don't like that. These are people. We turn them into an attraction. I don't think I would enjoy that.
No. We used to have, well, it's probably still there. When I grew up, there was a Baptist church, and we used to mess about when we were little kids, about 10, 11, 12. And we were messing about in the graveyard. I don't know why. Probably playing hide and seek or something. In a graveyard. That sounds really bad now, doesn't it? But
graveyards don't scare me.
But anyway, I fell into a bloody open grave, didn't I? It wasn't funny, Tracy, I can assure you. I couldn't get out. The grave diggers had dug a grave, obviously for a funeral that was going to be happening the next day. And I was running, not looking. It was sort of, sun was going down. And all of a sudden, the floor disappeared, and I was at the bottom of this grave. And I was shouting for my mates.
Found you.
I was shouting for my mates. Do you know how we had to get out? How I had to get out?
They had to pull you out.
Well, we couldn't because I was only little. It's quite deep. It was 6 foot deep. We had to take our tops off, tie them like a rope ladder, and they had to climb up these jumpers and tracksuit tops. So, I'm glad you weren't there. All you did was laugh at me.
They would have found you the next day. It's not like you would have had to stay down there. Can you imagine? the funeral the next day. Somebody's screaming from inside the grave.
Excuse me, before you kick off, can someone get me out?
I told you that I used to visit this really, really, really old grave that was hidden and overrun by the forest where I grew up. And if you stepped wrong, your foot would go through the dirt, through the coffin, into the coffin. And if that's not the creepiest feeling in the world, I don't know what is. God, Rob, I would have been so tempted to just leave you there. You
Leave
know,
me there.
yes, overnight.
Oh, I
Maybe I
wouldn't
wouldn't
like that. I
totally
wouldn't
leave.
like.
I
I think that would
wouldn't
have.
totally leave you, but I would make them. I would make you think we did. Would that have freaked you out?
Well, yeah, at like 11. Where's Rob? Oh, we left him in a grave. It's, it's okay. He's not
Fine.
dead. Not dead.
It's not
We're
for him.
we're probably going to be tomorrow when he gets out. But
Mom, can we move? Oh my god.
thanks for the sympathy. That's the last time I share any traumatic childhood stories with you.
Oh my god. I wish I had known you as a kid. That would have been funny as hell. What was I supposed to do? Take my shirt off so you could crawl out? I mean, come on. How would I get you out?
It
Tracy,
wasn't like
I need you to take your shirt off so I can get out of here. Right, Rob.
it weren't some kind of chat up line.
What?
Go play hide and seek in the park in the churchyard with a load of girls. Oh, I'm trapped. You'll have to strip off to let me out. I was 10.
See, you could have played that a little smarter than you did, Rob. Oh my god. Oh god. That's why everybody thinks you're the funny one. I've never had people strip down to get me out of a grave. Well, that might not be that might not be true. Anyway.
Oh, dear me.
Okay. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Chicagoland. This cemetery isn't only home to apparitions of people, but an apparition of an entire house has been reported by a startling number of people who can all identify a similar white farmhouse with pillars and a porch swing. Bachelor's Grove also has, quote unquote, evidence of the paranormal. There's a picture taken in 1991, and it appeared in the Chicago Sun-Times. And on this picture, it shows unexplained lights and faces in the mist, and faces that appear on tombstones, only to disappear shortly thereafter.
Oh.
That's weird. A whole house? What the frick? That doesn't even make sense.
Have you seen the picture? It's in America. It's a graveyard in America. It looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. And there's a picture. They took a photograph, and it's a lady sat with her back against a grave, but you can see through her.
Yeah, I think I think that's the picture. That's the grave. I think that's the cemetery that Jory went to, and he talked about his haunted experiences.
Oh, yeah, I think that rings a bell actually now.
Yeah,
With
I
me,
think it's that
so
one.
yeah.
Um, Howard Street, Salem, Massachusetts. With its witch hunt history, it seems safe to assume that Salem is probably one of the most haunted places in the U.S. The oldest cemetery there is no exception. In fact, one famous resident of the grounds wasn't just buried there. Here we go, here we go, this is for you. He. Buckle up, Rob. He died there, too. There you go. Boom. Haunted graveyards. Giles Corey was the only person to die. Oh no, this is. I forgot about this one. Giles Corey was the only person to die by torture during the witch trials. Remember, his wife was on suddenly picked out of the group and put on trial, and he refused to testify against her or admit any guilt or innocence. So they
Piled rocks on him.
piled rocks on him. Yeah, and then he died. Um, Corey is said to appear in the cemetery right before tragedy strikes the town. He was supposedly seen just days before the Great Fire of 1914. Man, if I was him, I would be up and out every single night. Do you have any more?
No, I've not as many in the UK as there was in America.
Okay, I just got a couple. I just got a few more, if you don't mind. All right, are you ready?
Kick off, yeah.
Resurrection Cemetery in Chicago. Between this and Bachelor's Grove, Chicago's a scary place to be. And, the violence. I know you've heard this ghost story before, and this might be the place it originated. Many years ago, a girl was walking home one night after a dance. She was hit and killed by a car, and has spent the last 80 years hitchhiking to the cemetery. Why was she hitchhiking there? When a kindly driver accepts and pulls up to drop her off at the gates, she vanishes.
She's not wearing white, is she?
Probably. She is. In Chicago, this gal is called Resurrection Mary. Many people have reported seeing her or almost hitting her in the road. Some people have even claimed to have picked her up. Well, it sounds like one of those urban legends. There may be an element of truth. In 1927, a girl named Anna Norcus did die in a car accident on her way home from the Old Henry Ballroom. So, just don't be picking up little girls on the side of the road as a general rule.
I know why they're all so angry. These ghostly women. Because they're probably sick to death because they're not called Mary and they're not dressed in white.
Yeah.
It's always Bloody Mary, all this.
Yeah. I think that has religious connotations to it, don't you?
It did sort of sound that way when I just said it. And as a Catholic, I'm quite embarrassed now. So sorry about
that. Okay. This one, Cemetery Hill in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We're gonna stop by. When we go on our road trip, I do want to stop in Pennsylvania. Okay, we have to figure that out.
Everything in Gettysburg's haunted, isn't it?
Everything. It would be a very strange place to live for me.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like to live there.
No, I feel like I would feel very unsettled. Although the history is just, that's a lot of history. Okay, the Cemetery Hill might be one of the only places where you can experience a ghost smell. Because so many died at the Battle of Gettysburg, it was impossible to clear the bodies and get them buried in a timely fashion. Which I know this. As you can imagine, the stench would have been awful. For quite some time after,
Oh,
people couldn't walk near the cemetery hill without something to mask the stink of death. So they used to dip their handkerchiefs in peppermint and vanilla and hold the cloths to their noses. To this day, some people report smelling peppermint at Cemetery Hill. Oh my God! See,
now that.
it's
Oh,
that's disturbing. That's disturbing. Couldn't they have? You know, I told you about the place in Vicksburg where they had like the 1,100 unnamed Union soldiers,
yeah.
unclaimed. Couldn't they have done something like that? Couldn't they have done something like that? But couldn't I don't know? Couldn't people have just buried them? Why would they just leave them out there like that?
Yeah, but
That
when
is sad.
we've done a lot, haven't we?
Hmm.
To do with the Civil War and
Hmm.
with Gettysburg and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily think about the the impact that all those bodies would have had
Yeah. Yes.
with with things like the smell and
Yeah.
obviously the sight of all those bodies and limbs and
Well, yeah. And they wouldn't all have been dead because the rule of thumb was if you had a musket go through your leg, you could live because they would just cut your leg off. 15 seconds. I think that's what it was. Might have been 7, but I think it was 15 seconds. And then they would, you carry it off the battlefield and you could live. But if it went through your torso, they wouldn't even try. You were just left there to die. They would give you morphine and leave you there. So um, here are all these. I mean, this is really getting dark. But here are all these people. They call it a cemetery, but I mean, it's really not a cemetery. It's a death field. You know, who were alive but ended up dying next to all these. And maybe they thought they I don't know because there would have been Union soldiers and then there would have been um, Confederate soldiers together. So maybe
yeah.
they didn't think they should like be buried together. I don't know what the reasoning was, but yeah, you don't think of the impact of that. Just thousands, tens of thousands, unbelievable. Let's move on from that.
Mm,
Let's go to something happier, shall we? Boot Hill Cemetery in Tombstone, Arizona, which I have never been, but all of my kids have been. I can't believe I lived in Arizona and I never. It was an hour away. You might think that Deadwood's Boot Hill would boast the most ghosts. After all, it's home to Wild Bill Hickok, Calamity Jane, and Seth Bullock, among others, which when my youngest son went, fascinated him. It really got him into history. But it's Boot Hill in Tombstone that has the photographic quote unquote evidence of ghosts. My oldest son, Jory, has seen what he believes is to be ghosts. This says to me, this is one that so they have a picture that a tourist was taking of a friend near an old Western gear place, and he didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. But the film was developed. It revealed a cowboy hat that appeared to be rising out of the ground. But they said that I think that one was doctored. But in um, in the tavern, the saloon, I can't think of the saloon's name. It's a woman's name. My son would be really upset with me right now. There's still bullet holes in there from like when people get mad at during poker games and they would just shoot it up. There's still bullet holes in the walls, and that's the stuff. But my youngest son seeing those graves, and we watched the movie Tombstone, and he was just like, "Wow, that's amazing." So I did good there. That was good. And my eldest son's been there many, many, many times, and I never went. Can you believe that?
No.
Okay, Hollywood Forever in Los Angeles. Hollywood just lends itself to ghost stories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So many broken dreams and scandals. A lot of them seem to have ended up at Hollywood Forever. Some of the ghosts that have been seen here include Clifton Webb, Virginia Rapp, who was the girl at the center of the Fatty Arbuckle murder and an assault in a manner I cannot speak of, William Randolph Hearst, and people report seeing him and his mistress at the cemetery. There's a cemetery right in the middle of LA, right smack in the middle, and you have to go down alleyways to get to it, and it has so many stars buried there.
Wow.
Like Lucille Ball and newer, younger stars are buried there. It's really amazing, but there's no signage that says it's in there, so that people don't go, spray paint it and ruin it. But I would love to go find it. It's a secret. Although I've seen it in videos and on YouTube, but nobody says where it is.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I would do that. I have my very, very close friend that died at Crater Lake. She was buried in Forest Lawn, right next to the celebrity section, which she would have loved.
Yeah.
So it's funny because they're like, well, there is a silver lining. She's so stoked right now.
Yeah.
And then my last one is the Union Cemetery in eastern Connecticut. This cemetery is an oldie dating back to the 1600s, so it's easy to believe that it could be haunted. This is going to be your favorite one ever, Rob. The graveyard is known as the White Lady Cemetery
Oh.
because of the famous ghost that reportedly haunts it. As you might suspect, a mysterious ghost adorned in white roams the grounds of the cemetery and sometimes even ventures beyond the gates and into the road. Like Resurrection Mary, drivers have reported hitting her when she appeared out of nowhere on the road. Other people have told stories of a set of red eyes peering at them from the confines of a bush or a tree. That's a squirrel. Don't wanna. It's a squirrel. So there you go. There's some haunted cemeteries. I like cemeteries.
Yeah, I think they can be interesting.
I love people who have really ornate headstones.
Well,
Go ahead.
The one we've got here, St. Mary's, is really obviously it's really really old. The church, and me and the girls. This is going to sound really terrible, but it's right in the middle. The town isn't very big, so but it's right in the centre of the town because that's how the towns became towns. The first building would be the church,
and then the school probably.
Yeah, So it's right next to there's a little ornate arch which you can walk through to get into the churchyard, but it's right next to a takeaway. So in the summer, we would order our food and then go and have a look around at the graves. And some of them are so old, from the 1700s, 1600s.
Yeah, same with that little cemetery in the forest where I grew up. That's amazing.
Mm.
And
the church is beautiful. You'd love the church. You'd love the church, Trace.
do you ever walk across this grave?
No.
Me either.
No, you're
That
not
is a
supposed to do that.
superstition that I will not do. But then I'm also confused about which side is the grave on? Is it on the side in which you're reading the tombstone? Or is it on the other side of the tombstone?
It's on the side you're reading the tombstone. And they've all got they can only face east to west.
Oh, really?
Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you've got to be buried east to west. You've got to be facing the Holy Land.
Interesting. There's a graveyard in the town where my grandma was born. I mean, she was born there 107 years ago, I suppose, because she died when she was 102, maybe even older. But her whole family is buried there, and she's not. She's buried where my mother is buried, but her father is buried there, and there's a whole bunch of lilacs, which I think contributes in a strange way to the fact that I told you that lilacs are my favorite flowers because it's kind of it's hilly, and it's just the lilac smell because we would go on Memorial Day was so strong, and it's so beautiful. And my great grandfather was buried there because he said it had the best view of the cemetery.
I've just found something here. The tradition of placing a casket, shroud, covered body in the grave with the head to the west, is common, and people know about it. At the same time, the feet are to be facing towards the east. The body would be placed face up. That's sorry, I've got it mixed up. I think Muslims, it's the opposite way.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I guess that would make sense.
One may think that it is for practical reasons, but the east-facing placement has religious causes. It seems that in Christianity, the star comes from the east. Yeah, that's the same with churches. Churches have got you have an east end and a west end of a church.
Mm-hmm.
Church would never be the opposite. Would never go for north. Wouldn't be north to south. Like the altar at the north, the back of the church at the south. It's always got to be east to west or west to east, depending on where you are in the world.
Oh, interesting.
So
I didn't know that. See, I said when we did our promo video that we'd be telling people things they didn't know. I'm learning things I didn't know.
I thought you knew everything, Chase.
Yeah, I keep telling my husband that, but there's a few things. Probably, I don't know. Well, Rob, are you ready to wrap this up?
I certainly am, and it's been really fun this one tonight.
I've enjoyed it.
Not that they're not always fun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. We didn't. I didn't go too far down any rabbit holes, which is perfect. Okay, so for everybody who's listening, remember that there's a contest for free money from Amazon. 2 ways to enter. Leave your comment below, or figure out what not 31, but 30 days have in common. And if you figured it out, the first one that figures it out, that is the person who will win the money. Please give this video a thumbs up. Please share it. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And ring that bell if you'd like to be notified when my content goes live. And I would like to thank the people who have donated to our PayPal for Rob and I to go on our trip. I really appreciate your generous gifts to help us to be able to save for this trip, because you know as well as I know that it is going to be a cluster F, and that's going to be the best part. We should call it the Shite Show. Rob and Tracy go on a Shite Show. Anyway, so I really, really appreciate that. And for those of you who do not know, there is a place on my home channel that has a PayPal link that YouTube has very generously given to me, because a lot of my content isn't monetized. Can't figure out why. But I think that is all. What about you, Rob?
I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
Okay.
And I do appreciate everything that anybody. I just do appreciate everything everybody. The even comments, if they're donating, if they're buying merchandise, just being there is just amazing. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it too. I really love that we have a little community, and it feels nice.
And thanks for sticking up for me.
Yeah, and me too. Don't want people saying mean things about Rob. It was your first time, Rob. It's painful, isn't it?
It's not nice. Not nice.
No, it's not nice at all. All right. Well, I guess I will let you go. It is, I guess, good morning.
Yeah, it is morning now. Morning has broken.
Good night. It's my night. It's my night. I can't help it. It's 2:30. It's 2:30 in the morning, but it feels like night.
Okay.
All right. Good night, morning.
Good night. Good night. Good morning.
Bye.
Bye.